Her tragic death, R&B superstar Aaliyah's legacy is well and truly living on.
Such a talent, and her self-titled album has skyrocketed back into the Billboard charts for the first time since 2001. Her producer and co-founder of Rap Plug Live, Craig A. King, joins us now from Atlanta. Craig, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I wonder how it feels for you to see Aaliyah's name back in the charts again.
Oh, it's invigorating. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of her, and I'm so glad she's getting the well-deserved flowers at this time.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, well, she was such a bright, shining star, and her legacy still lives on. You worked with her. What was she like?
Well, the first word that comes to mind is humble. Her humility was just at the top of the chain. She was just such a good human being, so smart, so educated, so articulate, so much fun, funny, and also shy.
And her passing was so tragic and came as such a shock to so many when she was killed in a plane crash. How do you reflect on that time personally, having known her so well?
Well, it really, it's hard to revisit. I do remember the day that the announcement went out. I was living in New York, and I was driving down the street, and they just kept playing a ton of Aaliyah records, and I was like, wow, they sure are giving her a lot of love today. This is great. This is great. And then out of nowhere, radio personality Angie Martinez said, just for those who are tuning in right now, Aaliyah, she died in a plane accident, and I had to pull over the car, and I sobbed and I sobbed, and it was gut-wrenching, as I had just talked to her a week before, and it was just hard to take. Very, very hard to take.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, and we're so sorry about that loss for you. I guess a lot of this is a little bit bittersweet, considering that this resurgence, I think the props given to Aaliyah right now on the charts is sort of a lot of fans saying, let's correct the messaging here after the R. Kelly conviction last week. Is that what you feel about this?
Yes, vindication on top of vindication. I'm so excited about that. I hate to say it that way, but I've always felt like they didn't give her rest. She's just getting her rest, I should say. It's just been tough watching all these years her not get her props. And now to finally see this man go, clearly where he deserved to be. And just seeing, I feel like the fans are excited. The people who didn't fully understand the case, now they're beginning to understand it more. And this is a real problem, too. It's clearly bigger than Aaliyah. But I'm really glad that, this man is behind bars, and that, some wrongs have been righted, let's just say.
I mean, it was such a relationship that I think in the test of time we look at it differently than what we did back then. Was he around at the time of you working with Aaliyah? Not
at all, no. He was far off the scene at that point. And thankfully, when we started working together, they were, I'm sure you're familiar with the old term, the sophomore jinx.
Yep.
People definitely made the assumption that she was going to have that. And so she was determined to make sure that this album had her fingerprints all over it, that it was truly her and her sound and where she wanted to go. And I'm just grateful and humbled to be a part of that, because she really knew where she wanted to go. And she refused to allow that sophomore jinx thing to sit in or sink in. So, hats off to her for having the direction and understanding that that was a big deal, it was a big hurdle, and she jumped over it. She cleared it.
She carved her own path, didn't she? How do you reflect on her legacy? What is Aaliyah's legacy, and how do you remember her?
It's interesting. I'm raising an 11-year-old daughter right now, and oftentimes I think about her and her father. For me, it was just when I walked in the studio for the first time meeting her, I met her dad, and I just saw the grin on his face and the anticipation and the excitement to see his baby girl, moving on into the next album. And I think about that often when I'm with my daughter, because I feel like they kind of set a tone for me. I know it's outside of the art space, but it's so much more about family. That family took me in like a son. I got a chance to eat breakfast with them at their home. I got a chance to go play laser tag with her. We would go shopping at the mall after sessions and all of that. And Dad would always be there. And, you know, she sat in his lap. You know, he held her hand. She was just so close to her family. But I personally took on the relationship between her and her father because like I said, I have a daughter, and I'm learning so much from that process and adding all that into my relationship with my own daughter.
Well, it's amazing that we weren't expecting that answer. It's amazing that the legacy of that iconic singer not only affected your professional career, but your personal career. And that just speaks to how amazing she was.
Absolutely.
Craig, thank you so much for your time and sharing your memories of Aaliyah. She was truly great, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Still ahead on Today Extra this morning. He is a